What's up guys, War History Geek here, and welcome back to another acquisitions video. Now today I'm going to be going over a couple of things that I've gotten in the most recent weeks. So first off here, we have a World War II era US pillow cover, which I know sounds kind of boring, but it was a good deal. It was only like $8. I had my eye on it the last time I went into this antique mall. They had it for like 15 or 20, and they finally marked it down because nobody else wanted it. So I swooped in and got it. So here you can see it says U.S. Army Air Forces for Victory, which tells me that it's World War II. And just $8 was an okay deal for me. You see them sell for as much as like $20 if it's an average design like this. If it's an interesting design, it'll sell for more, but so you can see it's not really worth that much, and it's not extremely collectible, but I thought it was just a cool home front piece to have. You can just imagine what home this was in, probably the wife or the mother of a serviceman. She had purchased this to put in her house to remember her loved one in the service. So just an interesting home front piece there that I'm happy to add to the collection. So next up here, we have a handbook, field book, from the Vietnam War. So this here, you can see, is a very different design than what we're used to looking at on the channel. If you look in the back page here, you're going to see it's dated 1964. Let me zoom in there for you. As you can see, 1964, U.S. Government Printing Office. And the distribution list. So very cool. I believe I only paid like $8 for this, which was a pretty good deal. These sell for near $20 online in some cases. What's interesting here is ordinarily these will have a brass fastener that goes all the way through the book so that the pages can flip around, which I can put a picture up here of an example. But this one was stapled together. So I don't know if this was something that the servicemen had done or this was done sometime after the war. But it's just an interesting thing there. And one thing I like about handbooks is usually I won't purchase these because they just take up space. They're not really something that you can display well. And in some cases, they get pretty pricey for the ones that actually do collect them. So usually I try to avoid these. But this is dated 1964, so this would have been one of the first handbooks going into Vietnam, which I just thought was very interesting. And you can flip through the pages here. Lots of interesting information inside here. If I can find the page, let's see here. He took some handwritten notes in here. There we go. So you can see different times of stuff. So Reveille at 600 hours, Taps at 2300 hours, and some different flags there. And then I believe it's just another flag thing on the back here. Yep. So very cool. I really love personalized items like that. And yeah, especially when it comes to these books. Of course, you know, depending on the book, it's nice to find it in mint condition. But I like to find books that are used like this with the personal notes in them. You can see a little bit of damage on the front. It gives them character. It really does make them feel like they were used, like they should have been. So for only $8, definitely a great piece to add to the collection. Moving along here. We have a, let's see. So this right here is a postcard from the First World War. Let me take it out of this sleeve so we don't get a reflection. And here you can see it says Maloney's letter from the trenches to his wife. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you'd like to read it, you can pause it. But I just thought this was a very cool thing. I believe I paid $10, which is a little too much in my opinion. But it's from a dealer I bought from a lot of stuff from in the past. And I just really liked the story on it. So I decided that I would pick this one up as well. So that's a quick little piece there, but something nice from the First World War, especially since I don't have a lot to go with the First World War, so I figured I'd add that to the collection. Next up here, we have a soldier's individual pay record from World War II, and these, like I've said before, I love personalized paper items like this, and this one is in perfect condition, which is very uncommon. This one you can actually flip through comfortably and not have to worry about it falling apart in your hands. But this was never used, so I don't really know what the story is behind this. You can see, we'll flip to the page in a second, some personal information written in there, but besides that, there's nothing else written in this pay book. So I wonder what the story is with this, but it's a very cool piece that for, I think it was only like $8, $5. So very good price as well. Here you can see 1942. And if we flip it open here, soldier's individual pay record. And this is where all the personal information is. So you can see the name was Emmanuel Elmer Eifert. He was the private, and he has his serial number there, the insurance amount and the premium monthly, and then also the allotments cash-wise. Then you can also see down here the date of issue was the 10th of May, 1944, which is very interesting. You can tell it's late war. So I'm curious if he was even shipped overseas or if he was a domestic soldier. And then you have his signature down there, which is a very cool personal thing to have. So there you have more blank pages. These pages would have had his pay record on them. And then in the back here, you have instructions for the issuance of this book. So again, just a cool little interesting personal piece there. It was super cheap as well. So again, just another nice item I found. Figured I wouldn't pass it up. Now here I have a collection of items, and this I believe I paid $14 for. Sorry, I can't remember all the prices off the top of my head. Unfortunately, this antique mall takes all the tags from the items. But this was a collection of World War I related items that the seller had put together. Again, all of this paperwork was from the same seller. So here we have a Christmas postcard, I guess you could call it, from World War I. And again, you can pause it there if you want to read it. But just a cool little thing, especially since it's nearing Christmas time at the filming of this video. So a cool little piece here to add to the collection. I'm not exactly sure where this would have come from. As you can see, it doesn't have postage or anything on it. So I'm curious if you guys have any answers. Make sure to leave it down in the comments. But just a cool little piece there. I'm figuring that this collection was thrown together by the seller. I don't think they all came from the same place. But the reason I purchased this was this is a World War I era individual pay record book for a U.S. soldier, which I see World War II ones a lot, kind of like the one I picked up earlier, which in the future I may do a comparison of these two. But this World War I book, I've actually never seen one in person, so when I saw this for a very reasonable price as well, I knew I had to get my hands on it. So coming in close here, it's very difficult to make out the name. I think it says Edward J. Smith. Now, feel free to correct me if you think I'm off on that, but here you have his serial number, which I believe says 143297, and then 4. Okay, yeah, so 143297. So there's his number there, and then down here you have his organization. So that, I mean, I can barely make it out. If you guys can, make sure to leave it down in the comments. I'm sure if I did a little more research or looked into a little bit closer before the video, I probably could have figured it out. But beside that, let's take it out of here. So unfortunately, the paper is in very poor condition. As you can see, it tore down the side here. Ordinarily, you would slide it in and out of the top, but for now, I just slide it in and out of the side. Here's the back there, just a folded piece of paper. You can see at some point it got heated up because this, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It looks like some kind of thick sealant or tar almost on the outside of this to waterproof it. And it must have heated up at some point and glued itself to the inside of that paper. But here you can see it's in very good condition on the inside. This is a great piece to add to any World War I collection. Again, I love the personal items. Now, this is a stack of paperwork we'll open in just a second here, which, again, I don't think it is related to this book, but we'll look at that in just a second here. Okay, so here you can see Edward K. Smith. That's his soldier's number. His occupation was student at the time. So he was drafted from Davenport, Iowa. And here you can see this was opened October 1st, 1918. So very close to the end of the war. Here you can see he was born in 1898, February 27th. Here you can see insurance, first enlistment period, and you can see additional pay for foreign service, and I believe that was his commanding officer, or if that was the camp he was at, Camp Upton. Unfortunately, I don't really have much of the details there. Here you can see the witnessing officer that issued this book, and let's see here. You can see his rank, private, corporal. So you can see that he did rank up at some point. $33, $40.20 per month. And his insurance payments. So that would be that deduction there. And that was his net pay monthly. And then over here, you can see the signature and rank of that officer again. So very, very interesting personal piece in extremely good condition. I just love these books that are filled out. Here you can see paid to include over here, quartermaster payments, so stuff like that. Unfortunately, again, I don't know exactly what that all means. I'm sure if I do more research, I'll figure it out. But the paper is very interesting. It has a, I want to say waxy, but a very smooth and almost slippery feeling to it. So here you can see General Headquarters of the American Expeditionary Forces. Just some instructions there, I'm assuming. And then taking a look at this paperwork here, unfortunately it's very fragile, so I'll be very careful with it. But here we have the Knights of Columbus, which is similar to like the VFW. It's a veterans organization. And here you can see this was issued to an E.K. Smith from Esterville, Iowa. So actually this does belong to the same person. So very cool there. You can see, which is kind of ironic, council number 2021, which is the year of this video's recording. He's a third-degree member, and this was issued in 1920. So January 1st, 1920. So this was shortly after the war was over, and I'm assuming his service ended. Now here we have a newspaper clipping here, a death notice, excuse me, for Maurice J. Doyle out of Esterville, Iowa. Now, I'm assuming this was either a cousin or a close friend from the same town that he was in that passed away in the war, and he held on to this to the end. Here you can see on the back something about hotels, but this is obviously what he intended to keep. And I'll hold that up there if you want to pause it and read that. So a very, very sad thing to see. But again, it adds to the personal history, which I just really love about this item. And then here you see Battery D of the 1st Iowa Field Artillery, Daily Bills of Fare, Sunday, October 21st, 1917. And here you can see the meal that he had on that day. So just, again, a very cool thing to have. I mean, considering this was, again, I think it was only like $14 if I remember correctly. I mean, just a true piece of history that you cannot replace. For such a reasonable price, I just love it. This is the kind of stuff that I live for here. So you can see for breakfast, he had actually a relatively nice breakfast, cornflakes and cream, hot cakes, strawberry jam, coffee, dinner, roast chicken and fruit dressing, mashed cream potatoes, fruit pudding, lemon sauce, bread, creamery butter, lemonade. Just a really awesome sounding meal, honestly. Fresh oyster stew for supper. Here you can see the bag is just blank, but just a very awesome piece there. I'm just going to have a great place in my collection. This I'm going to try and display with my other World War I artifacts out in the open. I just love that piece. So next here, we have some scouting-related memorabilia, as I'm an Eagle Scout. I love collecting scouting-related memorabilia if I can find it. So here I purchased a book, The Boys of the Black Eagle Patrol, which is, it's not a Scout-issued book. It is a storybook which was written about scouting. And that was a very common thing back in the day. You'll see a lot of these kind of scouting-related books. But this I just thought was very cool. So I believe it was only like $4. But what's interesting about this especially is that it's copyright 1915, which would make this a very, very early scouting piece of memorabilia. So just an awesome piece. The scouting organization was founded in 1908 in America. So it would have been very, very early. So for a couple dollars, why not pick it up, add it to the scouting collection. And then this was, I think it was only a couple dollars. It's an inspection report for a scout's uniform. So this, I believe, dates to about the 1950s. Here you can see it's filled out with the inspection of all of their uniform parts. This scout got a 100 out of 100, which is honestly great score. You can tell that he took good care of his uniform. He was an assistant patrol leader, part of the Flaming Arrow Patrol. He was a first-class scout at this time. So, again, just a very cool personal piece. There you can see the uniform of the era. So, I thought that was very interesting. And then moving on here, we have a book here. It was the spending book for, I believe it was East Liverpool, Ohio. So just a very cool book here. You can see they advertise it as a souvenir book of the Great War. This I paid $11 for, dated 1918. So a good selection of World War I related pieces in this haul. And the reason I love these is I love to flip through period magazines and just see the advertisements. Like here you can see Tires and Tubes, East 4th Street in East Liverpool, Ohio. You can see the miles ratings. And this especially, like what the U.S. Army needed in 1 year, what Uncle Sam has accomplished since the war. Just cool, interesting facts that they had pertaining to the First World War. President Wilson's War Proclamation, and just cool things here. Like you can see there was something slipped in here about carriage rides in New York. An advertisement about cars at the time. So very cool to get a look at the cars that were available in the area at that time. So just very cool piece there. Not necessarily directly military related, but gives a window into that era in history, which I really enjoyed taking a look at. So I'll add that to the collection as well. And then lastly here from this particular haul, we have a large photograph from the Second World War. And it was actually kind of funny. I ran into the woman who was putting this in her booth. She helped me track down one of the employees of the antique mall to open a case to buy that other stuff that you saw earlier. And she was like, well, let me check if I have anything that I'm putting in my case right now that's war-related. And here you can see, right here, it's a full-body dress uniform picture of a sailor in World War II. And if you zoom in here, you can see that he was a deck officer. I forget the exact name of the position that he held with the crossed anchors on his arm patch. I'm going to put something up here to show you what it is. But you can see that he was a like a non-commissioned officer, essentially, that was on the deck. So he was heavily involved in that. And you can see here on his hat that he served on the USS Yorktown, which we all know what the USS Yorktown is. It was one of the most famous aircraft carriers of the Second World War in the Pacific. So a really awesome piece here connected to a very famous part of World War II history. And fortunately, the woman actually knew who this was. So before we move at the back here, you can see stamps from the person or place that produced this photograph. And then if we flip it around on the back, you can see writing here, Joe Roseman, and I only paid $4, which is an excellent deal, from Akron, Ohio. So very cool. She was telling me that he owned a bar in Akron, Ohio for many, many, many years. And this was a photograph from his family after he died. And just an amazing piece. I love these types of photographs, especially for a price like that. Unfortunately, photographs just cost so much in the collector's world for some reason. But this is just an amazing piece that I found just spur of the moment. She just happened to be there at the same time that I was. Right time, right place. And I got a piece directly connected to the USS Yorktown. So just an excellent haul there. Alright guys, and that's all we have for this video. I was going to show more, but this video ran a little bit longer than I was expecting, so that'll be coming up in a separate video in the future. But if you enjoyed, make sure to stay tuned for more content just like this in the future. And hit that like button, and when you're in that area, hit that subscription button and notification bell. Like I said, I have plenty of other videos just like this coming in the near future, so I'll see you guys then. Bye.